Hey everyone, Patrick CK here. Depending on when you're watching this, I just want to say Happy New Year. If you've been following this channel for a while, you might have noticed there's been a bit of a gap between videos. Let's work on fixing that, especially since YouTube likes to remind creators to stay active or risk losing monetization. Nothing like a corporate nudge to get things moving again, right? This video has been in the works for a while, but one thing that really threw a wrench in my plans was when my monoprice MP10 Mini decided it didn't want to work anymore. The issue? The Z-axis didn't know where it was, so the printer couldn't even start a print. Turns out the culprit was a faulty stop sensor. It's an easy enough fix, and I'll get to it eventually, but I figured it was a good opportunity to see what else is out there. Could I find another beginner-friendly budget printer that was still an upgrade from the MP10? After a bit of research, I found one that really piqued my interest. Enter the Creality Ender 3 V3 SE. It stood out for a few reasons: the brand, the specs, and the price. Here are some key upgrades compared to the MP10. A much faster max print speed, 250 millimeters per second versus 100 millimeters per second. A dual shaft Z-axis system with synchronizing timing belt versus the MP10's single screw shaft. A slightly larger build volume and auto leveling. More on that in a minute. And the best part, I snagged it during a promo for just $150. Even at its regular price of $220, it's a fantastic value. While the non-SE version has even better specs, it's more than twice the price. So maybe someday. For now, I wanted to stick to the beginner budget. Plus, Creality is a much more established brand in the space compared to monoprice, so I'm hoping replacement parts and support will be easier to find if needed. Now let's dive into the unboxing and see what you get with this printer, how easy it is to set up, and of course how it performs on its first print. Right after taking off the top foam layer, you see some of the components. A standard C13 power plug, a control unit, not touchscreen, but it has an easy to use knob, a spool holder, a bag containing the installation manual, a filament nozzle cleaner, a small packet of stickers, cute touch, and a warranty sheet. In another Ziploc bag, there's more. A sample filament roll with the Creality mascot, a bag of screws and tools, Allen keys, wrenches, a small screwdriver, an SD card reader, and a generic full-sized SD card. Not sure if I'll use it, but it's nice to have. A filament cutter. It doesn't have a locking mechanism, which would have been nice, but it's still a thoughtful inclusion. And there are some extras like an additional nozzle and spare screws. Underneath more padding, you'll find the two main components, the Z-axis gantry and the base. The base feels much sturdier than the MP10's. The plastic cover has a nice finish, though I do worry it might collect dust easily, especially under the print bed. The braided power and data cables are a nice premium feel. So far, first impressions are solid. Okay, let's put this thing together. The first step is attaching the Z-axis gantry to the base. One thing I love about this design is the slots that let you slide the gantry into place before securing it with the screws. No need to awkwardly hold everything in place while you work. You'll need the 6 M3x14 screws, 3 on each side. The included Allen key works well. The middle screws are in a tight spot, so using a screwdriver might be a little tricky. Once assembled, the structure feels extremely solid. No complaints there. Next is the control unit. It attaches with 3 screws. There are grooves to help align it perfectly with the base. And while 3 screws might be overkill, it's rock solid once installed. Then comes the spool holder. This one does require you to hold it in place while screwing it in, but it's a simple enough task. Now for the fun part, connecting the cables. First, plug in the main data and power cable for the extruder. This printer has a neat groove on the gantry to secure the cable in place, keeping it tidy during prints. The cable slides into the groove and locks in securely. Out of the box, the print head is positioned at the top of the gantry, so connecting the ribbon cable is a bit tricky. First, push the locking tabs outward, then insert the cable until it clicks in place. After that, plug in the motor cable at the top and the screw guide motor cable at the bottom. Finally, connect the control unit. Since it is removable from the mount, plugging it in is easy. Once connected, snap it back in place. Oh, and of course, don't forget the satisfying peel. Load the filament and cut the end at a 45-degree angle with the included cutter. The filament feeder has a handy tab that releases the clamp, making it easy to slide the filament in. One important note, the power supply's default voltage is set to 240 volts. If you're in the US, make sure to switch it to 115 volts, or the printer will power cycle every time it tries to heat up. This is totally not something I learned the hard way. It was just something I happened to find online while researching the printer. You'll need a tool like an Allen key to flip the switch. It's in a tight spot. So now that everything's set up, we power it on, choose a language, and let it start auto leveling. It takes a little time to warm up, but the auto leveling process is really cool. I'm especially amused by the little probe that pops in and out during operation. It's the small things in life, right? The probe is actually the CR touch sensor, which physically touches the bed to detect its surface. It calculates the bed's tilt and any irregularities, then adjusts the print's Z-axis dynamically during printing to maintain a consistent distance between the nozzle and the bed. I'm curious to see how reliable it is compared to the ultrasonic sensor of the MP10 Mini, which I did have to replace once. Once the leveling process is complete, we get a readout with all 16 touch points. The measurements are all in the green, but you can still see the bed tilt slightly upward toward the front. According to the manual, blue boxes mean the measurements are slightly out of spec and red boxes mean they are way out of spec. But honestly, the manual doesn't explain how to fix red zones if you encounter them. Luckily, we're all in the green for now. I have to say the assembly process was far more straightforward than I originally thought it would be. The printer feels solid and it looks great, even though aesthetics probably shouldn't influence a purchase decision for something like this. One quick observation, the control unit has a slot for a micro SD card on the side, but you have to remove the control unit to insert the card. And when you put the control unit back, the card scrapes against the base. This feels like a design flaw, and if you're not careful, you could easily damage the card. Thankfully, there's a full-size SD card on the other side of the base, which is spring-loaded, along with a USB-C port for direct connection to your computer. That SD card slot spring is intense. It really launches the card out. Speaking of SD cards, the included 8 gig full-sized SD card is surprisingly useful. It comes preloaded with a setup and operation video, the manual, a material guide, and a test model of a cat. Okay, so let's get this thing going. What was the first thing I printed? Was it the included cat? A Benchy? My Cubeception model? Link to that video will be around. Nope, it was a replacement shelf cap screw that I've needed for almost a year. Even at low quality, this thing turned out great. This was literally the first model this printer produced. I didn't tweak any settings, just used the default settings in Cura and the printer itself, and have to say, it's impressive. The print took less than 20 minutes at 20% infill and the default speed of 180 millimeters per second. For a low quality print, it turned out really well and fits perfectly into the top of the shelving rod it was designed for. Normally there would be a shelf here, but this is just for demonstration purposes. Now it's not perfect. You can see the Z seam along the length, but Cura 5.9 introduced a new scarf seam setting we can test later to improve that. What I love most is how flawlessly this printer worked right out of the gate. No fuss, no mess, just a great result. With my previous printers, I had to fiddle a bit to get even the first print going, especially when it came to bed leveling. None of that here. Now that those shelves finally have the caps they've needed for a year, it's time to print a Benchy and see where we're starting from. For those new to 3D printing, a Benchy is a small tugboat model designed to test your printer's performance. It's packed with challenging features like overhangs, bridges, fine details, and smooth surfaces, making it the ultimate benchmark for calibrating and showcasing a 3D printer. Plus, it's cute enough that you don't have to throw it away. To print one, head over to the Benchy page on Thingiverse and download the files, link in the description. Open the standard no frills model in your slicing software. I'm using Cura 5.9 as of January 2025. Link to that in the description. Make sure your printer settings are active. Luckily, the V3 SE was already available in Cura's print manager. Slice it, save it to the SD card, pop it in the printer, and let's print. It should take about an hour at the default settings. Here's my attempt at those printing time lapses where the model appears to be growing out of nowhere. My setup is nowhere near as sophisticated as the pros, but it turned out alright for a first try. One very concerning observation is the spool wobbling, especially during quick accelerations. Watching it was nerve-wracking, so fixing that is a top priority. At exactly 48 minutes, the Benchy is done. Overall, not bad for default settings, low quality with a 0.28mm layer height. One standout issue is that Z seam, which is fairly pronounced. I don't remember seeing this on Benchies from other printers, so it's definitely on the checklist to get addressed. There's also some light stringing inside the cabin, mostly near the bottom. Oddly, it's not as noticeable higher up. On the plus side, there's no drooping on the overhangs at the front window. The keyhole details look great and the layers are smooth. The clarity of the text on the bottom is impeccable. It's crystal clear, which is fantastic. Compare that to the last Benchy from my MP10 Mini, where the text is unreadable. The Creality Benchy has better definition in almost every respect, from the frames around the windows to the doors and the chimney on top. Besides the Z-Sim, it's smoother, cleaner, with fewer issues between each layer. As for my final thoughts, so far This printer feels like a significant upgrade from the MP10. I'm really happy with it. That auto leveling feature saved a ton of time getting from assembly to launching the first print. That alone is worth the cost. And sure, there are things to improve, but for a printer under $250 and possibly even under $200 if you catch it on sale, it's a great start. Here's our checklist of things that need to be addressed. Fix the spool wobble ASAP, tackle the Z seam issue, and adjust retraction and extrusion settings to minimize the light stringing inside the cabin. I'm excited to keep experimenting with this printer, trying new prints and potentially mods. Let me know in the comments what you'd like to see next, whether it's test prints, mods, or even me fixing the MP10 Mini. I've also heard mixed reviews about the Creality print slicing software. Let me know if you'd like me to test it out or if we should stick to Cura. If you're interested in picking up the Creality Ender 3 V3 SE or its bigger brother, links will be in the description. If you enjoyed this video, the like and share buttons will be around. Until next time, this has been Patrick CK. Goodbye.